Hey everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with historythroughcards.com. Hope you're all doing very well today. So over the last 3 years or so, I've been diving more and more into your alternative sports cards, which would be cricket and soccer or football. And I really wanted to branch out and see what else was out there. I really didn't know a whole lot of the players and really kind of the sport and how it's played. I did play soccer when I was a kid. I wasn't very good, but I don't think that was really the point. I had a lot of fun, and I wanted to find out again what was out there, what ball players were out there, and what I could find. And it was really for me very educational, and I'm still learning about both of these sports and who has played the game. And I came across a few players that I really wanted to add to my collection, both cricket and football or soccer. And so I really had an interesting journey so far, just trying to locate some of these cards. And a lot of these cards are British and some French and German as well. And so that's one of the really interesting things, I think, when you're going to try to start a collection of soccer or cricket cards. I found a player that is actually one of the greatest British soccer players of all time, and that is Steve Bloomer. And I had been looking for this particular card for a while because it is a little on the expensive side. I'm not going to lie, that conversion rate really kind of kills us at Yanks over here. But this card I picked up for like $43. Well, it's a little bit more than that. I think it was close to 60 or so. Uh, and the other thing that kind of gets you too is the shipping and handling over in Britain. But this is a 1906 Odgins football colors, and it doesn't actually say Steve Bloomer on the front of the card. It says Derby County, and so when you look over on the back of this particular card, it gives you actually two names. It says it's really kind of about the football team, if you will, Derby County. It says John Goodall and Steve Bloomer. And if you didn't know who Steve Bloomer was, you probably would miss this card. This is actually Steve Bloomer. And just for comparison, you can go on Google and look up Steve Bloomer's face, and you'll see that this is a direct representation of Mr. Bloomer. And this is 1906, and he has a couple of cards out there. He is a little on the expensive side, but he's not as bad as say Billy Meredith. Billy Meredith is like, he's like Lou Gehrig here, right? So that's who he is, and he's not bad either. I'd say if you're doing a baseball comparison, he might be Jimmy Fox, right? So Jimmy Fox in his own right was obviously Hall of Fame, but he's also in the Hall of Fame as well. And he is in the Football League 100 Legends. So today I thought that I would read a article. It's an article from his passing in 1938, but it has a lot of information there, which is why I wanted to kind of tell you about his entire career through this article. There's probably a few things that will be missing, and I'll fill you in afterwards. So I hope you enjoy this. This is from the Nottingham Evening Post, Nottingham, Nottinghamshire, England, April 16th, 1938. Steve Bloomer, a great footballer, passes, died today at Derby. Internment during the war and its effects. Steve Bloomer is dead. The famous Derby County and English international, who returned from a health trip to Australia and New Zealand only a few weeks ago, died in Derby early this morning. Steve, who was capped 23 times, had been in failing health since his wife died, and it was because of this that some of his old friends in Derby created a fund to send him abroad for 6 months in the hope that he would recuperate. The FA also made a grant. Steve himself said that he felt much better as a result of the journey, but he had not been able to get out much since his return. Steve Bloomer died at 8:30 a.m. at Junction Street, Derby, where he had been living with his daughter and son-in-law. He returned from his health trip on March 25th and had been suffering from asthma and bronchitis on and off since he reached home again. The changes in climate conditions as compared with Australia and New Zealand apparently had a detrimental effect on his health. He was out yesterday for a walk but had a very bad night. Bloomer was a native of Cradley, Worcestershire, and made his first appearance for Derby County against Stoke at Stoke on September 3rd, 1892, scoring 2 goals. Steve, as a boy, was apprenticed to an engineering firm in Derby and was soon a shining light in junior soccer. In his 18th year, was given a trial in the Derby County First Division team in 1892. He had fine mentors in John and Archie Goodall, who soon recognized his goal-getting genius and sought to encourage and develop his rugged individualism rather than mold him into a cog in the machinery of the team work. Law into himself. Bloomer's unexpectedness and unorthodox methods were always his strongest characteristic, and he was ever a law unto himself. With a studied indifference to coordination, he knew the nearest way to a goal and how to get there. That was why England's finest centre forward, Geo Smith, would wriggle and turn and draw the defense to slip a pass to Steve in the danger zone. Steve played for 14 years for Derby County before being tempted to join Middlesbrough for 4 years, but he returned to his first love and was given a second benefit match as a welcome home gift. In 1914, at 40 years of age, he retired and accepted an appointment as soccer instructor at Wilmersdorf University, Berlin. He took up his duties on that fateful July 1914, and Steve had scarcely learned the meaning of Ja or Nein when war was declared, and he was interred for over 4 weary years. Undoubtedly, those 4 years' confinement in an insanitary camp with a starvation diet left a weary mark on Steve, and chest trouble was the cause of his trip to the Annapolis. When the armistice came, one of the first demands from the English crowd was to set Bloomer free, and Steve returned to his native Midlands, a shadow of his former self, and wisely accepted an appointment as soccer coach in sunny Spain, where the code was beginning to rival bullfighting in public favor. Scored 352 goals. Steve last played for the Derby County League side against Bradford City on January 24th, 1914, and his last senior appearance was a week later in a cup tie against Burnley. He was 64 years of age in January last. Steve Bloomer scored 352 goals in league football, most of them for Derby County. He played for England almost regularly between 1895 and 1907, and in international matches scored 28 goals. While Bloomer was with Derby County, the club reached the cup finals 3 times but lost on each occasion. Bloomer was probably the greatest inside forward England ever possessed. He was very quick getting away with the ball. He passed unselfishly and shot with uncanny accuracy. O.G. Smith used to tell how, as leader of the England attack, O.G. Smith used to tell how, as leader of the England attack, he only need pass, say, Steve, and the ball was in the net. Bloomer seemed to be at his best in matches against Scotland. He once scored 6 goals for Derby County against Sheffield Wednesday at Derby in 1899. He was incomparable. Mr. W. Pickford, president of the Football Association, used these words in paying tribute to the memory of Bloomer. He was a great footballer, added Mr. Pickford, and always seemed to keep something up his sleeve for Scotland. We could have done with him at Wembley last Saturday. I have never seen anyone as accurate as Bloomer in placing the ball just where he wanted it to go. In his last time, he was the prince of footballers, said Mr. F. W. Rinder, the Football Association and Football League vice president. Quote, he was a deadly shot and his drives rarely rose more than a foot above the ground. He was always certain of his place in England teams. So there are a few things that the article completely missed or just grazed. And one of those was Steve Bloomer's internment during World War One. He uh, ended up in this country. He didn't speak the language at all, and the arresting officers actually didn't speak English. So he was trying to explain why he was there, and they just arrested him. And it took a long while, in fact, for anyone to know where he was. It was, I think, only when another sports player ended up escaping from the internment camp that it was finally found out where he was. During the time he was in Ruleben, and there's a lot of really famous people who are actually in this internment camp, in this POW camp. He was able to form a league and play soccer through most of it, and it still wasn't a place that I'd want to visit anytime soon. Uh, I doubt that anybody would actually. So he had actually scored 28 goals in 23 appearances, and that to me is really impressive. During his career, he actually has 535 First Division games with 314 goals scored. He's actually the second highest all-time goal scorer in top flight football, and I want to find out who the first was, and that was Jimmy Greaves. And Jimmy Greaves, you can get cards from, I believe he's in the 1966 Barrett and Company, and that's a really interesting set. And he's also in 1967, I think, as well. So he's got cards out there compared to Steve Bloomer, who he does have cards, but they're getting expensive. Again, very impressive guy. He's a legend in soccer or football, if you will, and his cards may or may not go down in value. I don't know. Here in the United States, it's a little bit different because we really don't follow soccer the way the rest of the world does. And I don't really see a whole lot of vintage soccer cards or cricket cards at shows. The first time I really saw a huge grouping of either sport was at the National in Atlantic City last year. One of the things that I really enjoy about collecting vintage soccer and vintage cricket cards is that I haven't seen everything out there, and I'm still learning about the players, and I haven't seen a lot of the players' cards yet either. So for me, it's a great challenge, and it's worthwhile. Um, I I do enjoy collecting baseball, basketball, hockey, golf, tennis, and boxing, and even horse racing. But these two sports, they are probably the largest sports in the world, and for some reason, their cards just haven't really caught on as they probably should here in the United States and Great Britain and other parts of the world. That's a different story, but I really don't see a whole lot of these cards out there. I do see them on the internet quite often, and I love to like just search for this stuff and see what I can find, and then do a lot of research on the players themselves and the sport in the early days of the sports as well. So for me, this is really interesting and it's really fun and a great diversion from collecting baseball. I love baseball. It's my number one sport to collect, but it has gotten quite expensive, especially over the last 3 or 4 years. And as you guys know, I am a vintage collector. I don't really go for a lot of modern cards out there. I looked at the number of Hall of Famers and the Hall of Fame itself, and it only started in 2002. So they're still adding. There's not a whole lot of players who are in the Hall of Fame for the English soccer Hall of Fame, if you will, or football. And that's also true with cricket as well. So I got confused between the English soccer and the Australian rules soccer, and that's on me because I really didn't know a whole lot. I thought they were like the same thing, and they're clearly different. I think they're the same sport, but they're just different. And I'm still learning about this stuff, which I always say, like, every day you wake up, learn something new. And so I'm doing that through this hobby. So these two sports should be more popular in the United States, I would think. They are really popular global sports. I think the most popular, in fact, more so than baseball or basketball or American football, but it really hasn't caught on, and I'm wondering why that is. Do you guys think that vintage soccer cards or cricket cards will become more popular in the United States and probably more money. In fact, some of these guys, their cards are quite expensive, in fact, here in the United States. But when you go over to England or France or Germany, their cards are more reasonable. So I'd love to get your take if you think that the alternative cards like this are going to be more popular in the future. It would be really interesting to find out. And again, too, I was thinking about this in terms of grading. Grading companies will grade these cards, but I'm wondering if there's any limits on that, if there's something that even they haven't seen. Again, I don't know what PSA has seen as far as a lot of these cards are concerned. I don't even know if PSA has a European foothold. They probably do, and I just don't know. But you guys can fill me in on that as well. And again, do you guys have any of these particular cards, either vintage soccer or cricket? Let me know, and let me know if you have any favorite players that I should be looking for, or if you want me to do a video on. I'll certainly do that. I really enjoy studying this stuff and seeing who and what is out there. So again, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. I greatly appreciate it as always, and I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye. Hey everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with historythroughcards.com. Hope you're all doing very well today. So over the last 3 years or so, I've been branching out into different sports. One of those being soccer, or these birds are killing me, man. I'm I'm gonna declare war on finches, I think. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. Okay, little bastards, here I come.